Hey, this is Isaac.
Hi, I'm John.
And we're here to talk to you about CBD.
In particular, about 9 months or so ago, we started a CBD company. We were very interested in this space and big CBD consumers and unhappy with a lot of the products, so we came out with our own line of products.
It was actually kind of amazing to me when we first got started how much I was not a believer in CBD when we started talking about CBD. And really what I found out was that most of my experiences were with weaker products that really weren't doing anything for me. I mean, I'm about 220 pounds or so taking 5 milligrams of CBD from a random CBD bottle that I found at a gas station really didn't do it for me. And I thought, this is just like a fad. It's not really doing anything. But really jumping into it and trying a lot of products, I realized the true potential of it.
Yeah. So that so we're co-founders in Maku, and what we did actually to come out with the line that we did is we did try a lot of things, and we found a formula that really has worked for us in varying levels of strengths. And I think we're gonna talk about the different strengths, and we're also gonna talk potentially about other products, but really
maybe a little history.
A little bit of history, yeah. Yeah, we're kind of history buffs here, and actually start off with why don't you talk a little bit about our logo? That's kind of like a fun little tribute to some of the ancient cannabis stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing to me though when we started looking at CBD and hemp, and even in history, I started going down the rabbit hole on CBD and history when I saw the quote from George Washington that said everybody in America should grow hemp.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
It really opened a door of a lot of Google searches for myself on saying, well, it's been around since long before George Washington. Like, what are the roots in this? And something too that the further we go back in time, cannabis and hemp was actually really not as strong on the THC side and had more of a CBD profile than anything else. In the modern era, we've really made it concentrated on THC, but for thousands of years, people have been consuming hemp products that are more heavy in CBD for their nutritional benefits. And those benefits were so impactful that there's even some of the earliest symbols drawn on caves were actually the symbol for cannabis. And so when we started the company, we actually found the Bronze Age symbol for cannabis and decided to make a version of that for our logo to kind of reflect and resemble the roots that this plant has on our culture and has since before really history.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're obviously like-minded on a lot of that, and what really excites me about this podcast is just a lot of this was taboo, right? Like, I feel like a year ago, CBD was not. I'm a lawyer by trade, so it wasn't carved out officially the Controlled Substance Act unless it came from stem, seeds, or stalk, pursuant to the 14 Farm Bill. Not to get in the weeds, right? But I think getting the information out there is really important, and also we're, from my perspective, I think we're in a pivotal time, with some of the regs coming out with the FDA, and I was just sort of doing some research on a piece that I wrote about opioids and the relationship with my father and opioids, and I was just FDA really needs to get its act together, right? We're sort of in this gray area. It's not officially classified as a supplement. They have alluded to some being a supplement and then some also being carved out for the pharmaceuticals. But I was just looking back, and I was sort of looking at the frankly egregious like marketing tactics of a known to be addictive time release opioid, and then I'm like, we still don't have regs out on this seemingly at least harmless substance that you can put somebody in an entire room with and they could drink all of it and it probably won't kill you. You probably tested that hypothesis in some of our early product testing days. But I
definitely had days where I definitely tried at least 20 plus CBD products, and I'm here in good health.
Including, I'd like to add, we don't have this, but Isaac actually took a Cheech and Chong vape pen refill product that's like, and the vape pens are like of super high concentrate, and it's like, this is kind of funny. We couldn't find a CBD oil that actually did anything to us. Like, we couldn't even feel anything. No pain relief or any sort of like, you just didn't even feel anything. So Isaac sublingualed a vape pen product, which was, I think, breaking new ground. That's kind of like...
Not encouraged. not encouraged. But we were looking for, high-strength CBD, and even a year ago, it was very hard to find. And also, like, to the earlier point, in the 2014 Farm Bill, when you're talking about seed and stock, well, actually, the hemp seed doesn't have any CBD in it. And it's actually one of the biggest problems in CBD or hemp-labeled products, especially on Amazon, where they say you're getting 5,000 milligrams of hemp seed or hemp oil. Well, if it's coming from just the seed, it's really only good for cooking.
Yeah.
There's no major nutritional benefits for that.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add that hemp oil is not my favorite cooking oil. I love hemp. I love, the paper. I love the garments. I love the, chemicals, obviously, in the hemp plant. But as a good tasting oil, like, no thank you. Like, it's just not real. I know it's some people's thing, but it's not really my thing. But maybe we could, why don't we transition over let's talk about the different ways to consume CBD.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's actually the best ways to take CBD is, and even what is the right dose of CBD for me is one of our most frequently asked questions by our customers. A lot of people that are new to taking CBD still have almost like this boogeyman mentality of it. They don't know how much to take. Is there too much? What happens if they take too much? Really, and this is even leans to a little bit of an older demographic, but they're still scared of this nutritional plant. And so we found that just talking to people about understanding themselves and being able to set their right dose and knowing that it's safe to try a little bit more to up their milligrams, and that there isn't really a consistent thing they can jump into. It's more finding their own consistency in consumption that is the key.
Yeah, I think you're really hitting the nail on the head, and it's not, we're a couple of guys who started a CBD company and are talking about CBD, so we do have some subject matter expertise on this. But beyond that, I was meeting with an organic chemist actually this week, and he's a PhD, does a lot of work with the endocannabinoid system, and what I found interesting is he flat out said, we're really just understanding how this thing works, and everybody's endocannabinoid system is different, and I feel like we could do an entire segment on just like that study that came out in the 90s and what we've learned about it. But everybody's different. Great, I feel like dosing sort of feedback is rather generic, as start like anything else, start small and see how it affects you, because that's ultimately is what it's about. Is it's not about how we use a tool, it's about how you use a tool.
And to talk about that, with everybody's endocannabinoid system being different, and even the studies that came out in the 90s on CBD having the potential and actually lowering your cortisol, we all have different cortisol levels. We all carry different levels of stress, whether it's stress from working out, stress on your joints, just the stress you might carry that gives you a migraine. All of that is very related to cortisol, and cortisol increases in your body. And so some people produce more cortisol than others. And that's another reason why finding the right level of CBD for you is really a personal journey than it is, a prescribed method.
Right. And so sort of transitioning into, we work with a variety of people, to release the product suite that we've developed. And, one of my favorite people, of course, who I'm talking about, really early in our game, kind of broke it down, I think, super simple for us. And it's, there are 4 different delivery methods, which are one, I would say orally, right? And it's going to be absorbed through your digestive system. The second is sublingually. And you see that in the suite of tinctures, which also ultimately ends up in your digestive system. So it's sort of like a double whammy. The third, of course, and what I'm holding right here is, vaping, or either via combustion, as we'd call it, where you're lighting hemp on fire, or you're actually taking the oil through your capillaries in your lungs. And then the last being topically. Isaac, what would you say would be, and I always love hearing different answers to this question, but if you had to pick a favorite delivery method for you, what would you say that is, how you integrate it with your life, and why?
Definitely. I mean, I kind of have 2 main delivery methods that I prefer. One, I like taking it orally, and I do that using our tincture in my coffee in the morning. So every day I like to start my day with obviously a cup of coffee, or maybe 2, but really CBD is at the center of that. And really what CBD does for me when I take it orally in the morning is it kind of helps me collect my thoughts in the morning, and kind of helps me organize that to-do list, and looking at all the priorities that are on the plate, with a clear head. So that's kind of my preferred.
Can I ask, do you have like a coffee that you like to pair it with?
Yeah, there's
Isaac's a little bit of a coffee snob, so in like a completely awesome way, like makes some of the best coffee that I've ever had. So like, give us a little bit. I know this is a bit off topic, but if you have any pairing suggestions, because a lot of our customers actually love it with the coffee, and I've had it as well.
Absolutely. So I prefer we live in Gainesville, Florida here, and there's a local roaster called Sweetwater Roasters. And so I like their light roast.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like the light roast really brings more flavor to the coffee. It's not as burnt. It has some sweet notes. It almost tastes a little bit like tea. And so the hemp really works well with that coffee. I drink it black mostly, but another great way that I like to drink it when I'm really going to get elaborate is actually making a version of bulletproof coffee. We actually have an article up on our blog about bulletproof coffee and CBD, and that's where you mix your butter and your MCT oil, and you mix that in with the CBD, and it's actually a great way to metabolize both the CBD but also the caffeine.
Yeah, and that's I feel like if you have not tried CBD and coffee together, it's certainly, I feel like, a unique and interesting experience, because you've kind of got the caffeine that's a little bit amping you up, and then you have the more CBD that's a little bit sort of centering and grounding and zen. I feel like it brings up a lot of those things. So it's part of your morning routine on the tincture. It sounds like there anything else?
And then kind of the secondary, again being in Florida, we deal with a lot of mosquitoes, and we also deal with the sun a lot. And so going out and riding the bike on the trail or going for a hike, you definitely run into mosquitoes in particular. And I've actually found that even applying our tincture directly to the skin on a mosquito bite works really well for lowering the inflammation.
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
bike, you know.
yeah.
Which I was pretty surprised about. You know, I'd heard about it being used topically and all, but until I tried it, I didn't. It just really turned me into a believer pretty quick.
Cool.
Just seeing that go down, and then also for the burn section, you know, that sting that you get with a fresh burn, whether you're cooking something and your finger slips on the pot, or you hit the stove, or even if you're in the sun roasting for a little while, it really does help with the inflammation. And really, the CBD is helping with promoting circulation in that area, and that's helping like restore that area of your body that's either been bitten or burned.
Right, yeah. The I can say, you know, I don't actually understand completely. I think like there's so much to be known about CBD that we're getting research, right, that's coming out like every day. We're learning more about how it affects, but that, you know, study in the 90s basically said it had two effects: is, you know, increases your serotonin levels and lowers your cortisol levels. I think it could be, you know, it's almost like that simple, at least if we're drawing upon the 90s study. And kind of going to your point about hiking, I'm not as big of a hiker, but I'm more of a surfer. And, you know, the sun, you just kind of get beat up by the sun, and sometimes you get sunburned. And as like sort of a reactionary method to just like not be tossing and turning on my shoulders, a couple of weeks ago I put some on my shoulders, and I do feel like it helps with the inflammation on my shoulders. And so with respect to a burn. But yeah, for me, I feel like I am more of that's interesting that you say that. Like, I feel like I really like the vaping or combustion delivery method, because it's just so high concentrate, right, and modular. It's like really nice to just be able to put it in your pocket, or if you have it in your purse, or, you know, man purse or backpack or whatever, and you can just travel around with it. And if you're sort of in a bind and having any sort of pain, it's just really nice to pull out and have that portability, and also that higher level of concentrate, because one of these puppies has, you know, 200 milligrams in it, which I think is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and you know, vaping really helps with the bioavailability of the CBD. So one of the best ways is to get it into your lungs, which helps you actually have it enter your bloodstream faster, versus if just you took a capsule of CBD per se. And so, you know, if you're ever really experiencing that sharp pain, maybe you paddled out a little too far, or even you had a pretty bad car wreck, like you were mentioning, over a year plus ago. And so I'm sure, like, with a flare up on your disc or something, like, and you need quick relief, having that vape pen right there is a nice friend to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like for me, it's a great thing to just kind of reach for in that like reactive method. But I'm also a tincture fan. Actually, tincture would have to be almost like tied for me too, because with our product in particular, a lot of the products are flavored, right? Or they have like sort of that hemp oil that I'm not a big fan of. I don't really like the taste of it. So I love
the taste.
Oh, really? Okay. So that's like everybody's different. But I really like that sort of like earthy taste. It kind of almost gives me that like, I almost feel like our tincture tastes a little bit like a Fernet, you know, like a really good Fernet. Like, it just gives you that like kind of like earthy vibe, and you get that you get the feeling that you're taking something with real terpenes in it, and that actually comes from the earth. And so that's a big fan of our products, and I think, you know, to a degree, one of the reasons we've been successful is because it's like that, just like super straightforward formula.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's surprising how many people like the plant flavor. But, you know, for some of those other people that are worried about maybe, you know, most of our tinctures are full spectrum, so they have the full cannabinoid profile on it. You CBD, CBG, CPV, but also it does have a trace amount of THC in it. And so for people that are looking for products that are just CBD isolates, normally those isolates don't carry the flavor. and for us, our isolate doesn't have a flavor. It just more just like straight oil, and that's it. No flavor or anything. But I see a lot of isolates that are out there that are flavored as well, so there's a flavored option. But one of my ultimate favorites when I'm really looking for a boost and I'm looking to treat myself a little bit is gummies, CBD gummies. It's more of like I don't want to start my day every day eating a couple gummies. But really after a long day at work or on a Friday and I'm looking to really chill out, like opening up some CBD isolate gummies is a great way to kind of find that relaxation.
Yeah, it's I had not been a big gummy person, but as you all who are following this podcast and following what we're doing with the company, we just came out with a gummy line actually today. And what I did, I've been having like some pretty serious digestion issues from a business trip in Mexico, and like actually, went on like all these like crazy antibiotics and everything. And one of the things that really helped settle everything down there for whatever reason is just like popping a gummy real quick, and I feel like it just kind of like settled that down. And I actually saw somebody reference that on a review on our website, and so I didn't really make that connection until after the fact and like cruising on our website and seeing reviews. But I think that was like another interesting sort of notice that I've seen that effect on my body.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that they get inflammation in their gut.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whether the food that you're eating or, maybe you have a digestive issue in general, but a lot of discomfort can come from your gut. And just like CBD can help with topical inflammation or inflammation in your joints, it can really help out your stomach.
Yeah, like one thing that, because I've been dealing with these gut issues, right? They've like been going on for at least, I feel like, a month at this point. Like, it's like, I'm thinking there's got to be something out there, like, somebody should come up with like a probiotic, like CBD blend, like a little daily gut check. Like, I feel like I would take that product every day, just like even as a preventative measure,
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. There's so much cool stuff coming out.
Yep. Well, I think that like out of all the cool things that are coming out, the only thing that you can do wrong with CBD is not give it a shot.
Absolutely. So maybe that's how we ought to wrap it up. We hope that you give CBD a shot. Kind of main takeaways are take it slow and remember your 4 delivery methods. And we'll talk to you next week.